Today I'm going to do something a little differently. I've been wanting to do some movie reviews, but I've actually been slacking on watching movies recently. And I looked back at my overrated films list, and I thought, hey, it'd be a fun video, since I already got some controversy with one of the movies on this list. And I thought I'd describe in quick detail why I think the movie's overrated. And I'll give a little chart to showcase how much I care about them, how much I think the movie's actually good, in comparison to how popular it is and how controversial the opinion is. There's quite a lot on popular reviews, and I might have to review some of these, go back to these movies, and I'll give a confidence rating too, I guess. First up is the movie that I always think about when it comes to overrated movies is Jurassic Park. This is one of those movies I probably need to watch again to get a better grasp. I just was not a big fan of this movie. I kind of find it boring. I think the CGI looks dated, and I'm not a big fan of the pseudoscience, and I never got into the characters or the annoying kid characters. There's good scenes, no doubt, and some of the CGI shots are not bad, but overall, I just don't really get into Jurassic Park or its sequels. I've seen the Jurassic World movies, wasn't a big fan of that either. Overall, I'm not the biggest fan. I like dinosaurs, I just never got into Jurassic Park. This is one of those things I probably have to rewatch, though. Maybe my opinion will change. Let me know what you guys think about these movies too in the comments, or if I should rewatch one of these. I'll tell you how confident I am. This one I'm on. I probably need to rewatch it to get a stronger opinion because it's kind of been a while, but I wasn't really a big fan when I saw it. Man of Steel. A half star. I don't know if it's that bad, but I only saw this movie once, and I probably need to rewatch it. But I was not a big fan. I got motion sick, and I don't get motion sick, and the movie just was not shot very well. I think it was Zack Snyder's vision. He's had some good movies in the past, but at this point, he just went off the deep end. And I know there's a lot of Snyder fanboys, which is the reason why I have it here. I think some people like the movie more nowadays than it came out, but there's still some people who don't like this. I'm putting it because the Snyder fanboys won't shut up about this movie. And overall, I just don't think it really understands the character of Superman. He's not my favorite character of all time, but I've learned to appreciate the character more in recent years, and I just think this is the part where it really cemented him as a really boring character in media. And honestly, I feel like he needs to be rebooted, like, badly. The fact that they never really made a sequel to this movie kind of showcases, even though it's had some fans, it never got an actual sequel, and even the actor Henry Cavill has barely done anything with the character since this and Batman v Superman. That's about it. I don't really hate Henry Cavill, but I thought he was very bland and boring as a character, titular Man of Steel himself. And while there's some okay elements in this movie, the motion sickness what got me to not really like it at all. I don't think it's a bad movie. I probably need to re-rate that, but I probably need to rewatch it too. So what do you guys think? On paper, I should really like the movie Moonlight. It's a coming-of-age story about a kid who has a really bad luck in his life. He's a gay black kid, obviously not the best things to get in life, especially with a lot of persecution of people like that, unfortunately. But they don't really go into it, is my problem. And the story is about the kid who basically has a lot of shit put on him. He only has a single mom, doesn't care about him. The only person who seems to actually care about him is a gangster guy who basically runs a gang. But he's good with his gang, and he eventually he raises with this guy. And then the guy just dies or is off screen, and then he gets bullied, and then he goes to juvie, and then he becomes a gangster later on and runs his own organization. Now, there's good elements there, but basically imagine a movie like that, but it just skips all the interesting parts of that. How we don't see his mentor, who's also a gangster, die, or anything like that, or even how his gangs run. We don't see how he even becomes like a kingpin, like a mob, he apparently does. We just see him talking to his mom later and just saying, "I forgive you," for like 30 minutes. Like, that's not interesting. Overall, it's shot badly. They'll have a lot of pretentious angles, and they'll basically skip over it. You basically are confused what's even going on in the movie. Like, oh, his problem's that he's gay. Well, it's a shame. The mom's a complete bitch, but we're actually supposed to forgive this character even though she didn't do anything to deserve it. The character might forgive his mom, but we haven't. There's a whole part you think, oh, this movie's gonna get good, and then just skips a bunch of stuff, and it's like, why would you skip that? It's boring, it's pretentious, and it just has a good premise, and it doesn't do anything about it. It doesn't deal with any of the actual problems. It just says, look at this. Movie is a giant example of the show don't tell. The exact opposite. It's a tell you instead of showing you the elements that it wants to purvey. And overall, I don't see how this movie even won Best Picture. Not that La La Land was that much better. Not that I've ever seen that movie, but I don't like the guy in that movie. But whatever. Moonlight is a giant missed potential movie. Pretentious as fuck. And overall, it could have been great, but instead we got a half-assed project of people just didn't want to they didn't feel like doing the hard scenes. They basically just made everything dialogue and just explaining stuff that happens, rather than showing. Okay, I hate movies that do that. So I'm done ranting about this movie. I might need to do a review on it again, though. I don't really want to watch it. It was really boring. Toy Story 4, confidence rating on this one is 100%. Moonlight I probably need to rewatch. Toy Story 4 I'm going to have to rewatch because I feel like at one point I'm going to do a Pixar marathon like I did with the DreamWorks. Even though I'm more passionate about Pixar. If you've seen my my Letterboxd top 4, Toy Story 1 is up there. And that, even though I don't have the other two sequels, Toy Story 2 and 3 are on the same level as the first one. I have a little bit more nostalgia for the first one. I love Toy Story a lot. I have all the toys in the little area. I I absolutely love Toy Story. It's one of my favorite things ever. And I don't even have to go much into detail why Toy Story 4 is overrated. It sucks. When it comes to overrated, it is one of those. It's actually cutting the exact opposite of some of these other movies where I feel like it's getting more and more hate in recent years because people are just realizing that this was just a giant waste of time. One is a franchise killer movie. Essentially, what that is that we have a franchise and basically just kind of shits all over that, and that happens a lot, especially in recent years. I don't have to go much in detail because there's already a video series out there by Gaming Magic. I think 13 is the numbers. I'm not too sure, but you probably know about it. It's like hours long, describing why Toy Story 4 sucks and in detail. And I pretty much agree with every point. It basically just articulates everything I already felt about this movie. I saw it in theaters just because I thought, well, maybe it'll be good. And it wasn't. Cause I saw the one thing in the trailer, like, hey, they recognize that weird element that I know. I hate this movie, except just watch that 4 hours long video why Toy Story 4 sucks. It only focuses on Woody, and Woody's character is totally out of character. Buzz is in it too, but he's a complete idiot for no reason. And every other character you liked in the other Toy Story movies are just out of the way for boring, generic. Oh, this guy is Canadian and he's a toy, and this is two plush characters who don't do anything funny. So like the fact they're voiced by two funny guys. So how do you get Key and Peele and have their character be unfunny? How do you do that? This movie's horrible. Bo Peep is like not even the same character, and she's also bland and sucks. And Woody's motivation for leaving everybody is so lame. It tries to add something like, oh, we made a generic movie that really has nothing to do with the rest of Toy Story films. We're gonna make a tearjerker scene. That's what the rest of the films did, but they had nothing to do. Like, well, if Woody leaves everybody. But I'm just thinking, why did Woody leave everybody? I hate this movie. This is easily one of my least favorite movies of all time. Toy Story 5's coming out. I'm actually kind of looking forward to it because they can't get any worse than Toy Story 4 in my opinion. So Toy Story 5, maybe you can fix some elements. But then again, if it doesn't, I'll just think, in my head, Toy Story 3 will be the ending of the Toy Story franchise. Yeah, I hate Toy Story 4. Turning Red's a movie that you can't say you don't like anymore. I don't like it. Maybe this movie wasn't really made for me. I probably need to rewatch it again. I thought that it was. I actually really hated my time watching this movie because I was just annoyed the entire movie. I think the characters just suck. I wasn't blown away by the animation. Pixar is kind of getting lazy. Some of their films just look worse than others. There wasn't a lot of creativity. It's like similar to other movies where it's just like, okay, you could have done that, but you just kind of ignore that. It's one of those movies where like they focus on everything that it doesn't make any sense to focus on. It's kind of hard to explain about reviewing the movie. One day I will, except I'm going to do a Pixar movie. I need to rewatch it again too, but I just had the first time watching it, it's one of my least favorite movie experiences I ever had was watching this movie. I was completely annoyed the whole time. No, I guess I could see why some people might like it, but for me, it did absolutely nothing other than like annoy me. And I hate the glorification of boy bands. And overall, the characters were shallow. I couldn't relate to the main character or her mom. Both of them I thought were complete jackasses, so I couldn't relate on any level. The mom's a complete control freak, but it's treated seriously, but at the same time it's so over the top. It is the worst mesh in my opinion. And the main character girl is just very shallow. She likes her friends, and I guess she likes a boy band. But that's about it for that character. That's very lame. And it's one of those things where you have like a movie that has a backstory that sounds way more interesting than the actual movie you're watching, and you kind of wish you're watching that. And that's what I get for Turning Red. Also, whatever commentary was trying to do failed miserably, at least on my part. And the biggest problem with this movie is there was no 9/11. Where was the Twin Towers in this movie? Come on! It from 2017. I haven't read the book because it's giant, and sometimes I have a problem sitting down and reading sometimes. It's called Being Autistic, and it's kind of hard to read, unless it's a comic book, because the pictures distract me. Yeah, I know, I'm lame. But overall, it is just, I like the miniseries, the first part of the miniseries. I think that's actually generally good. The second part of the original miniseries is absolutely gawk as shit. You can throw that in the trash. The remake, I thought, was the least scary thing and didn't even understand the concepts of the original book. Part of it was the fact that it took place in the 1950s to showcase that this time period wasn't that great. This one basically ignores that entire aspect of that and says, oh, it's in the 1980s now, because 80s nostalgia, 80s nostalgia, 80s nostalgia. Look, I wasn't born in the 80s, but I like 80s stuff. I think it's pretty neat and cool. But this movie just does it in the lamest way possible, and it didn't have the gangbang scene. Where's the gang? I'm just kidding. That, dude, of course, I thought the acting sucked. The Pennywise movie was so unscary. I'm not scared of clowns at all, to be honest. I actually don't mind scary clowns. I think they're kind of cool. But this is the least scary and cool clown ever. They made him lame. Tim Curry, that's a good killer clown. But overall, Killer Clowns from Outer Space, that's a good movie. I don't know if anyone liked the sequel. I put that there too. I think that was even worse. But the first movie I thought sucked. It just sucked. Him doing a stupid dance. I think I'm not sure if I did a review. I think I wrote somewhere the least scary movie of all time because it's not scary. It's so played down that it kind of sucks. I know it's kind of hard to adapt the book because I think Stephen King wrote it while he was like doing crack cocaine or something. I mean, I don't really hate it, but I just don't understand any of the hype. The fact this was the highest-grossing horror movie, it doesn't make any sense to me. But I know some people like it, but it doesn't do anything for me. Last Halloween, I had a really fun Halloween marathon. I watched a horror movie every day, and it was great. Halloween horror movie. I watched tried to watch multiple ones at once. I watched a couple. I watched the entire Saw, Scream, and Child's Play franchises, and I had a blast doing that. And I watched individual ones, like as I mentioned, Killer Clowns from Outer Space, and Trick or Treat was one of them. This movie looked interesting. I like the cinematography and the horror movie taking place actually on Halloween. A lot of it don't really have that much Halloween going on. I just thought this movie was boring, to be honest. I just didn't really enjoy any aspects. There's a couple lore things, probably one of those things I gotta rewatch, but there's a couple of scenes where I was completely bored out of my mind. I just had a hard time following it. I need to rewatch it maybe, but the main character is barely the weird monster kid. I think his name is Jack or something. I don't even know. Is it? I don't think it's Jack. I really don't know, and that's kind of the problem. No, his name is Sam. And there is some cool shots that look really Halloweeny and such, but there's a bunch of weird stuff. I was more confused than scared or into the atmosphere. Sometimes I'll have great atmospheric shots and some subplots aren't bad. It's an anthology movie where I thought most of the anthology movies are either just dumb or really boring. And I think that's kind of a problem. But I need to rewatch it in order to get a full evaluation of it. Yeah, I could like it more the next time. It feels like one of those movies, but right now I'm not a big fan of Trick or Treat. I know they're making a sequel soon, but maybe it will be better. I don't know. Let me know if there's something I'm missing this movie because I didn't think it was very good. Fast Times at Ridgemont High. I'm not sure how popular this movie is anymore, but I saw it when I was like, I don't know, 15 or 13 or something like that, and I just did not get into this movie at all. Apparently it's one of those teen 80s classic movies, but it's just about a girl having sex as a teen and then getting pregnant and then saying, you suck, dude, why'd I fuck you? It's like, what? Like, what the fuck was going on in this movie? There's a subplot about this stoner kid who kind of has a kind of fight with the teacher about how he's a loser or something like that. I remember that being funny. I haven't seen this movie in a while, but I was so turned off by how weird it was. It's just a weird movie. Most people only know it for the one scene because I guess that's why people liked it because they had some early '80s fat material in their VHS. But other than that, there's not a whole lot going for it. Like I said, it's mostly about a girl just trying to have sex, but it's treated like it's not like a comedy thing. I saw another movie that had similar premise that was treated like it was a joke comedy. Here it's treated like this is a serious endeavor for some reason, or not even a cautionary tale really. Maybe, I'm not sure. I just thought it was very weird and off-putting to see having we focus on a teen girl trying to get laid and weird scenes, and yeah, I just didn't get into it. I think it had pretty bad pacing, didn't care for any of the characters really, and it's just an odd premise for a movie. Like I said, you probably need to watch it. And these movies, if based on my description you feel like I need to rewatch them, let me know in the comment section below, because I know these are unpopular opinions. Dune, yeah, this is the new one. They're making a sequel. I fell asleep during this movie. It is incredibly boring. Maybe it's just not for me. I know it has some good cinematography and stuff. Maybe I need to rewatch it, but I couldn't get into it. Even tried reading the book, also couldn't get into it. It's weird and kind of boring in my mind. My dad's a big fan of the Dune book. Didn't like the '80s version, or was it '90s? I think it was '80s. Hated that. And then said that this movie he didn't seem to care for it though. Actually, he thought it was kind of would be very confusing for people who didn't read the book. And that's kind of how it felt. Like the book, at least a little bit, since I just didn't get into it. The movie I thought was incredibly boring, and uh, I know there's some good. I know a lot of people like this, and I can see why. The cinematography looks really good, but I just find this movie incredibly boring. I'm sorry if you like this. I know a lot of people do, but that's just how I feel. Like I said, I maybe need to rewatch it, but just let me know if I'm missing something because I thought it was really boring. And I'm pretty sure I fell asleep during it, which is not something I do very often. I don't think I ever fell asleep during a movie. This is the one movie I fell asleep during too. American Pie. I don't know if this is even really that popular of a movie. Maybe it was popular back in '99, but now it's kind of forgotten. They made a bunch of sequels, but it's such an odd film where these kids are trying to bang, have sex for lose their virginity, which is something that doesn't make any sense. Like losing your virginity doesn't really do anything in your life, to be honest. As someone who's had that happen, it's like wow, that's over. It's a weird thing. So it could be funny, but they do a lot of weird shit, like film people without their consent. And like I'm not trying to be a snoot or anything like that, or snoot, or what do we call that? But I just think it's incredibly weird and creepy, some of the scenes. And like it's not that them trying to have sex, just the certain things they do, like the filming of certain people is it's just that's just not right. I don't think at any level. And overall, it has a terrible message in the end. They're like, it doesn't matter if we don't have sex because, what matters are relationships you build and stuff like that. Like, okay, and then they're like, then immediately every character has fucking sex. You lost it. You lost the point. There's a couple funny scenes, but overall, why would you even want to have sex with a pie? I don't fucking get it, you dumbass kid. Overall, it's pretty stupid. I guess if you're a stoner, you're like, but for me, it's just dumb, and it also has really weird sexist messaging in it. Kind of, maybe, I don't know, who the hell cares? The Secret World of Ariari. Everybody loves Miyazaki. I have only seen 3 of the films, and liking one out of the 3 isn't very good right now. This is one of those boring movies. I was excited because I love animated movies, and I thought, well, Japan, I'm pretty sure can do them, and I haven't really seen them. I like to watch them. Some look more interesting than the others. This movie, my fiance is like, let's watch it, and I was pretty much bored out of my mind. There's a whole lot of nothing going on. Just a bunch of people kind of doing little people stuff. They're in a wall, and they don't do a whole lot. It's kind of like an adventure where they're trying to go for the walls, and there's a little bit of lore, but not a whole lot. There's not a whole lot that goes on in this movie. Is the problem. It's kind of a nothing premise, and the animation, while it looks good, it doesn't. It just kind of just looks good. It doesn't really move fluently or do anything interesting. Compared to the other Miyazaki movie that's on this list, I just didn't care for it. I know it's Studio Ghibli. I'm not sure if he even directed it, but I know Miyazaki is just a term they use for all the Ghibli stuff. But whatever. There's probably others I need to see, but right now I'm not a big fan because there's not a whole lot to this movie. I'm not very confident on it, but at the same time, not very into it and got nothing else to say. Halloween Town. Why is this movie on this list? Because it's probably not that popular of a movie. It has a big cult fan base, and I'm not one of them. Maybe you have to grow up with it, but it's boring. It's incredibly boring. Like for a kids property, like what? Or like who could even watch this? Like I just don't get it. I thought it was that has some Halloween charm, but even then it's kind of lacking in my opinion. Overall, the characters are kind of It's incredibly slow paced, not in a good way either. Just not a lot. There's only a tiny bit of atmosphere, but overall, it feels kind of creatively bankrupt and incredibly cheap. It's nothing really worth even talking about overall, so I'll just skip this part. The Notebook. This is one of those movies that you either love or hate, I guess, even though it seems like it's more popular. Now, here's one thing. Ryan Gosling, I hate him. He's a smug piece of shit, jock type character who I don't like. I don't like him in anything he's in. And this movie, he plays a complete jackass character who just tries to fuck a girl who basically doesn't really need to be with this guy anymore. He was a complete jackass trying to fuck her from the beginning, and then they had a breakup because they were basically incompatible. She moves on and finds an actual good guy, and then he still can't get over the fact of this one girl he dated for a short amount of time and stalks her. Like, what the fuck? Like, fuck you, dude. I hate this guy so much, and I hate the movie because it's not romantic or lovey. And the stupid, the tactical, the guy telling in the past to his wife or some bullshit of her kids. It's so stupid. I hate Ryan Gosling, and I hate this movie. The Dolores Prada's the lowest in my confidence rating because I felt like I've seen it like a while ago, and I don't really remember watching it. I just remember it not catching my eye, not really caring for it. I don't know, some people like it, but I'm not sure how big of a movie it is. I'm not a big fan of Meryl Streep at all. This is one of the things I got to rewatch. I think Meryl Streep is an overrated actress. The only thing I can agree with Donald Trump on. I had nothing else to agree with him. He's a fucking jackass. Fuck Trump. How are people still voting for Trump? Are you guys fucking insane? I digress. Anyway, I didn't care for this movie. I don't care for Meryl Streep. I think she's been awful in everything I've seen her in. From Mamma Mia to Into the Woods. Even the Fantastic Mr. Fox movie. She was a voice actor in there. She was fucking awful. Hate. She's also smug as fuck. It was weird to say, hey, actors. I hate their acting ability, basically, in the shit they're a thing. As a person, I couldn't care less. Whatever, unless they do something awful. But other than that, it's one of those things I gotta rewatch again. I just remember it being not very interesting and not catching my eye. I just can't stay Meryl Streep, and that's about it. I probably need to rewatch it, but I'll let you guys know. Luca. I'm not gonna go over this one too much because, like I said, at one point I'm gonna do a Pixar marathon, and this will be one of those movies. But this one I'm pretty confident on because I've seen it twice. Once because when it first came out, just to watch it, and the second time because I was forced to watch it during my work. I don't want to go into that. But overall, this movie is so lame and boring. Not really boring, it's just lame. I don't like the animation. I hate the style they did it for Turning Red 2. I thought the characters sucked. They were lame. I thought the whole time I thought they were going to have them be gay for each other, which was, oh, that's interesting, Pixar. They didn't. They're just dumb friends. Yeah, the villain is awful. Some annoying kid. Like, He's not funny. He's just annoying. There is some funny stuff, but overall, it's such a lame. It feels like one of those like TV kid movies. And I hate the character design. I just think the story sucked. The fish monster aspect is stupid. I don't know why these movies, anime movies can't do fish monster movies. With Luca and was it Ruby Gillman? They just do a terrible job of secret fish monsters going into the human world. This one did it better than Ruby Gillman. I'll give it that. But overall, I was just not impressed at all with this movie. Luca is a Luca shit. I'm gonna get some hate for this, but this is the Two Towers and Return of the King in one ranking. Fellowship of the Ring, I think, works in the movie. These two, not so much. Basically, how I describe the movies, it goes like this. We have 1/3 of the movie is a great character study and adventure going on, and the other 2/3, it's just a bunch of mindless noise that means nothing. So everything that has to do with Frodo, Sam, and Gollum is 10 out of 10. Like, I love it. It's like these characters are great. What they're going on and their struggles and the growth that each of the characters have is great. I love it. But then we get Aragon, his boring stuff that has no personality whatsoever. We're gonna fight orcs. Woo! But we'll set up fighting orcs. And there's Gimli, the dwarf, who's dumb. That's his character. And what the elf guy, what was his name? Legolas, who's I guess he's an elf and he shoots good. And Gandalf, who dies and then he comes back in the lamest way possible. And this happens in the book. But overall, when it comes to Lord of the Rings, my opinion, the Hobbit book is the best. I love the Hobbit book. Then it's the Lord of the Rings movies. It's not saying a lot. Then the Lord of the Rings books, and then the Hobbit movies. The Hobbit movies also suck. Overall, I just don't. It's way too long, and just gives me a whole lot of nothing. I wish I could like it because there's some good elements. The cinematography is great. The CGI is amazing for the time period. But like I said, I'm only interested in the main storyline, but I keep getting distracted by boring orc battles that don't mean anything. They seriously don't. Gandalf sucks. He has no what's it? People are like, oh, he can beat Dumbledore. No, he can't. He sucks. Just because he quote unquote died, even though he didn't. I still don't understand that aspect. People get goosebumps over it. But Aragorn, boring. Legolas, he's also boring. Gimli's dumb dwarf. Like, wow, that great dwarf character that you have there, guys. I just don't get it. Like, why is anyone interested in anything that has to do with the Hobbit journey? Also, the other two hobbits, they go fuck around with trees. Wow, very interesting. Spoiler, it's not. I know a lot of people love these movies, but I just can't get into them at all, and I wish I could, because like I said, the main part of the story is really good, but the rest of it isn't. If anything, this review is going to kill me. The Lord of the Rings saying I didn't care for it. The only one that does it well is Fellowship of the Rings because the rest of the characters are at least part of the main group. But the next movies do nothing and have nothing to do with the main conflict, at least in my opinion. But whatever. I'm probably gonna get killed for this, but I don't even care. I'm being honest. Caddyshack. I have never been more disappointed in a movie than this. I thought I was gonna have a fun time. The everybody involved in these, I like '80s comedies. This is directed by Harold Ramis, who I love as a director. It stars people like Chevy Chase and Rodney Dangerfield and Bill Murray. That should be, this should be amazing. Like I love that. That sounds amazing. It's a boring teen drama. Those people, those people I mentioned here are in the cover and are top cast. They're barely in the movie. Rodney Dangerfield is funny when he's there, but he's barely in it. Bill Murray's funny, but he's like barely in it. Chevy Chase is kind of in it more, but he's not really doing anything funny. I know he's an asshole in real life, but I like him as an actor, so sue me. Like, what? What is going on here? It's boring. It's like the Fast Times at Ridgemont High where teens do boring shit of nothing, basically. Like, oh, let's hang around the shack, and oh, I guess we shouldn't be doing this, but we'll do it because we're teens. That's it. We have these funny actors we're not focusing on, who are on the cover of the movie, and we're basically focusing on a boring teen movie. Come on! The immense disappointment I had for this movie is insane. There's so many better '80s comedies starring these guys, and directed by Harold Ramis too. Just watch those and just ignore Caddyshack. That's my opinion. Batman '89. This is the highest rated movie I have in this list. The one that I'm not too confident on. At the same time, I think it's not bad. I think it's overrated. Mostly from '80s kids, because not many people afterwards say it's the best. Michael Keaton is probably the best Batman. Jack Nicholson is one of the worst Jokers, in my opinion. He's not the worst Joker, because Jared Leto exists. But I didn't like his version of the Joker, and that's half the movie. And Batman's motivation to kill him kind of sucks. I think most of the stuff actually greatly improves on in the sequel. Batman Returns I like a lot, but original Batman, I don't get into it. There's a lot of the reasons why there's a lot of production problems with this movie, and it kind of showcases when watching it. It's not bad, but it definitely could have been better. I wouldn't even say it's overrated, but there's like so many '80s Batman fans like this is the best one. Even say that Batman Returns is not even good. Like get the hell out of here. Batman Returns blows Batman '89 out the water, and future Batman movies like Batman Begins and The Batman, and even Batman Mask of the Phantasm make this movie doesn't really stand up or hold up that well. Also, apparently, according to some weird producer, the cover looks like somebody's inside their mouth or something like that. I have no idea what they're talking about. Doctor No, or really any early James Bond movies, or really most of the James Bond movies in general. I'm not a big fan. The Sean Connery ones are boring. He sucks. He's a jackass. Not much to say about this. One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest is another one where I think it's not bad, but I was expecting something amazing. The premise sounds really cool, and overall, I was kind of after I watched, it's like, wait, the one that quote unquote greatest villains of all time was that nurse lady. Like I didn't get it, honestly. While there's good elements up here, it just feels like there's not a whole lot going on. The characters are just mental patients. That's about it. It starts a lot of careers, that's for sure. And Jack Nicholson dies in the end after getting lasered with some weird therapy. Well, his character's kind of a jackass, so I didn't really care. I thought he was going to be more of a character you would care about, but I didn't, so I wasn't sad about it. And that's kind of the main problem. His character kind of sucks, and the nurse that's supposed to be the main villain, the most evil villain of all time, was just pretty basic. I know she did some things that weren't that great, but overall, like, she didn't do anything that's evil enough to, like, be, like, one of the worst villains, evil villains of all time. Like, have you even see the same movie? Overall, it's not bad. It does depict some of things realistically, and some things are pretty good. But overall, the main character he's an asshole. I mean, you kind of expect that, but, like, you don't like to watch him, in my opinion, and that's kind of the main problem in the movie. You might think from this movie and Batman '89 that I don't like Jack Nicholson. I actually do. I like him as an actor. I just think he plays his part good. I just don't like the character. And Joker, just I don't even know what the hell's going on there. Overall, it's not bad, but I don't think it's a masterpiece. Here's another. I'm gonna get crucified for this. I probably need to rewatch this, but Goodfellas, I didn't get into it. I just think a bunch of annoying, whiny gangsters. Like, oh my god, being a gangster's hard. Make me fold. I don't find it interesting. I'm not really into gang movies anyway. I do like anti-hero characters, but these guys come off as whiny. It's long, and overall, some of the scenes that people said are so amazing. I think it's that great. I'm not a big fan of Martin Scorsese in general, to be honest, and this film didn't do him a lot of favors. It feels, the reason I just don't like it, because instead of showcasing some characters, it just showcases these people as, well, these guys are kind of cool, right? But, or that's how I feel people watching that. I don't think they're cool. I think they're fucking lame as shit. Maybe I'm not reading it right, but you probably need to rewatch it. But I was just not impressed with this movie. It's an okay movie, but people say it's a masterpiece. I don't know. The characters kind of weren't that interesting. They're whiny, annoying, and that's about it. Sorry. The Prince of Egypt. I did a movie review on this where I said the most overrated DreamWorks movie of all time, and it is. I was not the biggest fan of my review because that's when I really started doing reviews, even though it wasn't that long ago. But I got into a better groove, and I can explain why I don't like this movie. I've actually this one I'm 100% confident on because I've seen it like a lot of times now at this point, like 4 times maybe in recent years. So, biggest problem. I'm not religious, so I have certain context things just don't work for me. The main goal, the character is born into was a slave. He goes to royalty basically as a baby after getting lucky. Basically, plays the orphan lottery, learns that he's actually a slave. He runs away and then just fucks off for a while. It's then when God decides that you gotta do my work for me, bitch, and he has to do this stuff not because he feels guilty or like that. It's some urge, like some deep desire down him. Like I gotta help my people. I can't run away anymore. No, God's to say go over and do this. Why can't God do it himself? I don't know. And that's the biggest problem with the movie. God is a fucking asshole in the Bible. Not that God exists, but the character Yahweh in the Hebrew and Old Testament and wherever it is in the other books, he's just a complete warmongering asshole. Instead of actually doing things to prove that he's real to the other people, he decides not to. It ignores the part in the Bible where he says he hardens the Pharaoh's heart, which is fucking insane. But other than that, it plays it straight. No one questions the burning bush of stupidness. He turns Little River red. Well, the priest can do that too. Wow, what a great move there, God. But hey, we'll show his power by, killing all the firstborn. What the fuck? This doesn't make any sense. Like, at all. Like, couldn't God kill the Pharaoh instead of his son? Like, why is the kid... Why would the kid be at fault? The kid didn't do anything. That's the fucking Pharaoh's fault. Whatever. It's so dumb. I can't relate to Moses because he's fucking like, oh yeah, everyone but my people's kids have to die. Most people didn't do anything, and plus kids don't do anything. The sins of the father problem. As a religious person who views this religious and story-wise, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. It's like that's fucking vile as shit. I know they killed people too, but that's not how you do it. And I don't care if it's old, but I'm not gonna give it a pass for like putting on its shit values. So basically, if someone tried to kill part of your people, kill their kids. Is that the message we get from this? Sorry, I just don't like it. Also, only 2 songs are really good in this movie. The rest of them are kind of shit. So yeah, whatever. Here's where I get crucified again. Spirited Away is just okay. I haven't seen in any way describe why this. I looked up because everyone says it's a masterpiece, and no one can explain why it is. Animation. It's top notch. This actually, unlike the other movie, which I felt like just didn't, this actually does showcase good animation. Story-wise, it's really okay. Not much going on. Just a girl in the spirit world, and yeah, and then she does the bathtub stuff and with a weird demon guy, and it's not a demon, yokai. I don't know, ghost spirits, whatever you call it. I'm sure in Japan, which the movie did very well, makes a lot of sense. It doesn't really, for me, it didn't really translate well. I know a lot about Japan, but I'm not an expert in all their mythology and yokai stuff. So maybe I feel like I'm missing something when I ever watch this. Like I'm missing a cultural aspect, and since the movie was just only made for Japanese audiences, they feel they don't need to explain anything. But that's my thing. Like, how do people from the West get something out of this? And because they seem to think this movie's a masterpiece, and I just think what I'm getting is just okay. It's weird, which is fine, but there's not much story and not a whole lot of character. It's fine, but people say this is like the best movie of all time. Like, I don't hate it. I think it's just fine, okay, but masterpiece. I don't see it. Kill Bill. A lot of these movies right now are in the, if you tell by my rating, or just, I think are okay, but a lot of people say they're really good. I didn't see Volume 2. I was planning on that when first watching this, but I didn't really get into it, so I had no desire to do it. When it comes to Quentin Tarantino, his movies are amazing. I pretty much like every movie I've seen he made, from the newer ones, like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which is not that new anymore, Pulp Fiction, of course, Glorious Bastards, even, was it True Romance? Those are all good movies. Kill Bill is okay. I just don't really care for it. It has interesting aspects in it. it has like a whole animated section for one of the characters' backstories, but overall, the characters in general just aren't very interesting to me. It's just a character who tries to kill the guy named Bill. We don't get a whole lot of information other than that, really. And I just had a hard time to invest in a character who I'm going to still information about who they actually are. And just weird foot fetish scenes. I know he has that in every movie, but here, just like, okay. Some of the action scenes are good, but they're not a whole lot. The music, well, I would say is good, but because it's been used so many times in memes, I just can't take it seriously. But it's not bad, but I don't think it's anything special. X-Men First Class, I don't think this movie's like that well received nowadays or even remembered, but people used to say, this movie's so good, this movie's so good. Just because they have yellow and kind of blue costumes doesn't mean it's good. In fact, I thought the plot was stupid, the characters kind of sucked here. Jennifer Lawrence is an awful recast as Mystique. She was okay in the next Days of Future Past, but here, and then in fact they kept using these weird younger versions of the character. I always thought was just strange. And the main plot point sucked. This scene where he's screaming is just laughable, and when he loses his legs or something stupid, it's like, I don't know. It has good elements, but I thought it was kind of dumb. This is another one of those okay movies that some people in certain circles love. It's short and doesn't have a whole lot going on. It has complicated lore, but it's also not very interesting. It also feels like all this other stuff's happening. Like, it's one of those things where the main character feels very incidental in their own film. People are surprised, why doesn't the second movie have anything to do with her? Because the first movie had barely anything to do with the main character. And it's also kind of confusing in a not a good way. It's a dark anime movie, but not really that dark. Like, I like dark anime movies. I love The Brave Little Toaster, and I loved Watership Down, and this just wasn't really doing it for me. The other movies I've seen in the Don Bluth 9 Up, or at least later on, were better in my opinion. If you want to watch a Don Bluth animated movie that's a little dark starring a mouse, I'd recommend American Tail over Secret of NIMH, but that's just me. I don't think it's bad, I probably need to rewatch it, but I wasn't very impressed. The Exorcist. It's not very scary. While it does focus on the characters, I didn't think the characters were very interesting, and a little girl puking isn't the scariest thing in the world. Being possessed by a demon is also not a fear I've had since I'm not religious. Maybe if you're religious, I can see why, but there's not a whole lot of scary scenes to begin with. It's actually kind of how weird underplayed it is. Like, wouldn't mind that, but most of the movie just really isn't that interesting in my opinion. Well, it's not bad. I just don't think it's a horror masterpiece or the scariest movie of all time, because it really isn't. And the last underrated movie is Shaun of the Dead. I don't get the appeal of this movie at all. I gave it a 6. I thought most of the comedy was few and far between. It was just a generic zombie drama that's trying to be funny, but also fails at the drama and the comedy part. I usually like British humor, but I'm not a big Edgar Wright fan. His editing didn't fit the style of the writing, which was just, oh, my girlfriend doesn't like me, and my friend. Oh no. Well, there are some good scenes. Most of the scenes are few and far between. It's just a bunch of unlikable characters interacting with each other, and they're trying to be heartfelt and dramaful more than comedic. So if I don't care about the characters, then I don't really give a shit about their drama, and that's mostly the whole movie. I don't care about Simon Pegg and his girlfriend, or even his friend at the most part. Like every scene that's funny, there's like 20 more that I just didn't care for. Maybe I'm missing something here, maybe I need to rewatch it, but I just didn't care for Shaun of the Dead. And that's all my underrated movies. Overrated movies, I say underrated movies anyway. What do you guys think? You think I'm a fucking idiot? Well, maybe I am. But maybe I need to watch more movies. Let me know what you think I should watch, and maybe I'll do a review on it. So I'll see you whenever it happens next. I won't be doing the horror movies, though, because I do that during Halloween. Alright. Anyway, I'll see you whatever video I do next. Bye-bye. See you later.